Welcome to LSC. It's sports time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have Hampton High School football great Woodrow Wilson with me. Glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're going to talk a little about, you didn't play football until you got in junior high school.
That's correct.
But you played a lot of sandlot football.
Yes, with my uncle and cousin, basically. And when I got to Thorpe Junior High School, went out my 7th grade year, but I decided I'd rather play basketball, so I concentrated mainly on basketball. In the 8th grade year, they asked me to come out, and for some reason, the coach told me after I challenged the individual for the quarterback position, and I don't know as of today why he told me not to come back out, but then my 9th grade year, he asked me to come back out again, so that was my first year playing organized football, 9th grade at Thorpe Junior High.
Okay, now that was back during the junior high school system instead of the middle school, so they had the sports back then. Do you remember who was coach and some of the guys was on your team?
Coach was John Lynn, and Simon Gupton, who played at Hampton High, also went on to North Carolina State with me. He was on that team. Basically, Warren Cook, who passed away tragically about 10 years ago. Robert Davis, who played basketball at Pembroke High School. Right. And what I remember about that, I remember Coach Smith coming over to Thorpe Junior High, and he spoke with the football coach there, and basically he got me out of class, and me and him had a conversation, and basically what the conversation was about, some way he got information that I was supposed to be going to Pembroke High School, that I wanted to go to Pembroke High School. So I told him, no, that wasn't the case. I wanted to go to Hampton High School. And basically he said something about the big kid, and the big kid he was talking about was Simon Gupton. Right. And basically they said the coach told him that Simon Gupton wouldn't amount to too much. So basically he got over to Hampton, and he was a little lazy, big kid, little out of shape. But when he got to Hampton, he really worked with him, and he turned things around. You know?
Well, now when you got to Hampton High School, you didn't play just defense, or you played both sides of the ball.
Right. Well, basically, I never came off the field.
Yeah.
I played.
Because you also ran back.
I ran back kickoff. I ran back punts. I kicked off and also punted also. So you know, I was the free safety on defense and the tailback on offense. And basically, the first time I touched the ball in a high school game, I went 97 yards for a touchdown.
Who was that against?
Pembroke.
Yes. Oh, I know that really hurt you, right? There were some guys on that team that you had played with.
Played with at Thorpe, exactly. You know, that I knew very well. You know, like Jesse Watson, like I said, Robert Davis, Frankie Brown, Ricky Brown. So you know, yeah, that was very special.
97 yards. That's tough, ain't it? Yeah. You kind of set the tone to the game right then. Well, actually, what they're going to expect you to do good things all the time.
Exactly. And then we didn't understand, but now I understand today why Coach Smith worked us so hard when we came there in the 10th grade, because they lost a lot of a senior that year, and we was fairly young, and we used to get in the cafeteria, and it was funny. It's funny now, we still joke about it. We said, somebody need to tell Coach he need to lighten up. You know? And I mean, that was the hardest something I ever could imagine around here. And oh yeah, he was really hard on him.
Even though he was hard, now looking back at it, you had to be in good shape for the whole season then.
Oh yes, sir. One thing I can say about Coach Smith, and I'm not just saying it because I played for him. I done played for a lot of different coaches, and one thing I can say about him, if he had to go on the rock to get a play, so he had his team prepared. There's no team gonna be better prepared than his team.
Right.
They might be better as far as individual overall, you know. But he gonna have his team thoroughly prepared, and I'm gonna tell you, I enjoyed my time there.
Okay, but see, and he didn't always coach you. You had other, like when you running back, you had Coach Frank Johnson.
Right. Like Coach Frank Johnson was the running back coach. Average Man at that time was the linebacker coach. And Bob Woodrow was defensive back coach, and Bob Tyson was the offensive line coach.
So you got a chance to play and be coached by some awesome coaches in your high school. So going through your high school, you look back and you say, man, was I lucky to get to be in that position that you were to be at Hampton High School.
And that's true. You know, like I said, we was fairly young. we lost 3 games my first year there. We lost to Ferguson 6-0, and they had Larry Bethea and Kaiser Lewis, and basically Larry Bethea at that time was like a man playing against boys.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. And then my junior year, we lost twice. We lost to Ron Spring, who played at Lafayette, and lost to Mike Dunn, who played for Bedford High School.
Oh, I know a little bit about Mike Dunn.
Yeah,
Mike played basketball for me when I was over there.
Oh, yeah, okay, right. And they had some awesome team. Like I said, my junior year, my sophomore year, Lafayette went to the state championship, and they lost at William & Mary. And I was at that game, it was snowing. And Bedford won it in my junior year.
That was in '74, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, right. They beat Woodbridge.
That's right.
And they had Russell Davis, who is a former Steeler.
Whoa, yeah, there you go.
And then our senior year, we won it. We was fortunate enough to win it. And a matter of fact, Coach Smith said we would return to glory. And the guys got together, all the seniors basically, and we worked out on our own to make sure that would come true.
Fantastic.
And it did.
All right, so you graduate, and now you're going to be recruited to go to college.
Right.
And talk about some of the places that you went.
Well, some of the places I went to the University of Alabama, and Bear Bryant was the head coach at that time there. I went to Ohio State for one visit. I went to Clemson.
Was Woody?
Woody Hayes was there.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Woody Hayes came to Hampton High,
Right.
And I went to Clemson. I went to Virginia Tech, and I went to North Carolina State. And ultimately, I decided to go to North Carolina State.
Well, but a good friend of yours ended up going down to Alabama.
Right.
Dwight Stevenson.
Exactly. Well, 3 of them was being recruited from Hampton High School to go to the University of Alabama. That was Dwight Stevenson, Simon Gupton, and myself.
Right.
And me and Simon chose to go to North Carolina State, and Dwight chose to go to the University of Alabama.
What was the difference for you to pick NC State over Alabama and Tech and Ohio State? What did it feel like? Why did you make that decision?
Well, I feel better at home. I seem to match with the individual as far as the coaching staff and also the players themselves, and it just made me feel more like at home. So that's why I decided to go to North Carolina State, and it worked out pretty well for me.
Well, if it didn't work out, who were you going to blame?
But I won't blame nobody but Woodrow.
Right.
Because I decided to make that decision myself,
Well,
and the reason why I did that, if it didn't work out, then I couldn't blame nobody but
right.
me.
And see, I think that's important. That don't you listen to everybody,
Right.
but you make the decision yourself. And this way, you live with it, good or bad, whatever. And that's pretty good. But talk a little bit about your career down at NC State.
Well, my career at NC State, I started 2 games my freshman year. Matter of fact, it was a pretty bad experience my first start against Michigan State. They had a young man named Kirk Gibson who played baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Heard that name.
Kirk Gibson was about 6'3", ran about a 4'3", and that was my first experience as far as playing corner. And I wasn't very sound. I didn't know anything about playing corner. I played free safety in high school. I played free safety at State. But they moved me there, and like I said, it was eye-opening. Let me put it that way, And I guess they were saying, well, welcome to college football.
But going through that, you had a great experience down there.
Right.
Got your degree.
Right.
And now you're going to play pro ball.
Right. Well, a matter of fact, I was all ACC 2 years. I was All-American my senior year. Got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1980. Chose to go to Canada for 2 years and played over there. Came back to Pittsburgh, doing very well. Then I separated my shoulder. Got put on injury reserve, and then I went with a defensive coordinator, which I thought was to the new league, which was called the United States Football League.
USFL.
Right.
Right.
And I thought I would be going to Philadelphia, but it didn't work out that way. When the new league formed, it depended on where you went to school, who had your rights, and come to find out Boston had my rights. I went to Boston for 1 year, played there. Then they moved to New Orleans, playing the Superdome, doing pretty well, very well. We was playing Gary Clark, who went on to play with Washington Redskins, won a couple of Super Bowls there. and he was playing for the Jacksonville Bulls. We had him like 17-3 at the time, and I had got a hip pointer right before the half. They shot me up, and it was beginning to wear off, and I was gonna tell the coaches that I couldn't go anymore, and they went for it on 4th down, and a matter of fact, I went up for the ball, my own teammate ran through my knee, and I tore my ACL, couldn't play anymore.
Well, back then they didn't do the ease of the scope.
Exactly. Right.
That was almost a season-ending deal then.
Right. Well, matter of fact, the doctor that actually assisted the doctor that did the surgery, head man that was at Tulane University, he said it was the worst he ever seen a knee, and he told me if he was me, I should start thinking along another line of profession. So I knew it was pretty bad, and basically when anybody got hurt, the coach would come in and say, well, the surgery went well, they should be back camp or a couple of months or whatever it was. And so I asked some of my teammates, what did he say about me? And they said he ain't said nothing. So I knew it was pretty severe then.
You knew you weren't coming back.
And I tried to, go and I went to Washington, failed the physical. Went to Tampa Bay, failed. So I decided, I said, well, I just find me a job.
Did the AstroTurf and all that, did that have any bearing on
the injury?
Yeah.
No, Bob, it didn't. Basically, like I said, we had this coverage where we had safety half-field coverage. Everybody else was playing man underneath, and we was giving support to those people that was playing man underneath. Mm-hmm. And I read the quarterback broke on the ball, and when I went up for the ball and came down, like I said, the guy that was playing man, he just ran through my knee.
Your own player did that. Yeah. Wow, almost like friendly fire. But so you fend up and you say, okay, pro done. But you got to play in 3 different leagues.
Right.
You got to play for the Steelers. And,
right.
So I mean, you can't look back and say I didn't do anything. You did a lot. You had very successful. From Thorpe right on through Hamptons High School, NC State, and the NFL and the CFL and the United States Football League. Now you find out you don't get to play no more. That's got to be kind of depressing at first.
It was. But then, you got to realize that life goes on, and I said I was blessed to get to this point. Because a lot of people, want to get to this point and can't get to this point, and I said, well, if that's what happened, that's what happened. I got to realize that I got a family to take care of. Right. I can't dwell on what happened. I can't have any animosity towards the individual that made me sustain this injury.
Right.
I said I can't dwell on stuff like that. I got to think positive and go on. And
Good point. See, and that's what we're trying to get across. Even though there's a negative, you can't dwell on that. Right. You got to find out a positive and go on from there. So then you started working.
Right.
And you even went over and coached some with Mike Smith.
Yeah, I think I was coach for about 5 years, and we actually won a state while I was there with him. We won 1. I think we went to 2 more. We lost to Garfield, and 1 final. I know that, and I can't remember whether we lost to TC Williams or not. But yeah.
Well, I think it was Eric Hunter was quarterback in his junior year, and
we beat Robinson.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So you got to be involved in the coach and everything. Did you ever think, that might be a profession I'd like to do?
No, sir.
And why is that? The time involved?
Yes, sir. I see what Coach Smith went through, and when I was at State, what the coaches there went through as far as, being there in the wee morning, like 3 or 4 o'clock. Some of them didn't even go home, for some days. And I said, no, I couldn't see myself doing that.
Wow. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about your football camp. It's coming up this weekend, and this will air after that. But I do want to talk about it because I think it's important what you're doing with this the football camp. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, Bob. Because my main reason for coming in and wanting to speak with you, I want the high school coaches to know it's not that these individuals that I'm bringing in going to try to show them up. My main focus and reason for doing this is to show the young men and try to help them become better men of tomorrow. And what I mean by that, bring these people in that are experienced at the highest level to show these kids that it's people like this that still care about them, will want to devote their time to come here, spend their money, not asking for anything,
right.
you know, and to work with them. And let them later on, maybe if they have any question, where they can contact this individual and talk to them over the phone or over the internet or whatever they want to do. That's what this is about. Right. It's not about Mike Smith. It's not about Stan Sexton. It's about these young men, you know. And basically, we not going, me per se, why I did it as far as giving it to Hampton High School, because I'm partial to Hampton High School. I went to Hampton High School.
Yeah, you got to
you know. But if we do it next year, it will not go to Hampton High School. We'll pick another high school and another youth organization. Okay. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to get guys to come in and help me give back to the community. That's what Dwight wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. And all the other guys that went to Hampton High School. We wanted to give back to the community. That's why we're having this football camp.
Okay. Talk about some of the guys coming in. You mentioned Dwight Stevenson, NFL Hall of Famer. Well, you know, and I talked to him and I says, yeah, you played for Mike Smith, you played for Bear Bryant, you played for Schuler. No wonder you made it to the NFL Hall of Fame.
And see, and that's what I'm trying to say to the coaches. These guys can tell you about some of the experience that they went through.
Right.
And these kids can relate to this. And give you a good example, Dwight Stevenson. Dwight Stevenson didn't start playing football, organized football, until 11th grade. And matter of fact, he was the backup center. The starting center got hurt. We was playing Lafayette. Lafayette had a pretty good football team.
Yes, they were.
And that was our junior year. And matter of fact, after the game, Bob Tyson told Dwight, he said, you'll never play another down here at Hampton High as long as I'm here. Dwight went on to make All-State, went on to make All-District, All-Regional. Then he went to the University of Alabama. We was all, after our freshman year, lifting over there at Langley Air Force Base. Dwight was talking about going in the Army or going to the shipyard. So we all in there, Kenny, Simon, Marvin Brown, we lifting. So we all said, Dwight going back to school. Because he had moved him from center to outside linebacker, and he ain't like that, you know. So we said, going back to school, get your degree. They can't take that from you, you know. And he did. So what happened was they moved him back to center, and the center that they had, they needed somebody to play nose guard, so they put him in nose guard. And the rest is history.
Ends up in
See, and that's what I'm saying. You
never know.
Yeah, and the kids, you know, where somebody tell you something that you can't do, see, Dwight can explain this to them. Don't never let nobody tell you what you can't do and what you can't accomplish.
Well, that's a great story.
But outside of him, you got Jerry Holm, who went to Bedford High School.
Yeah, I've had Jerry in here.
Played for the New York Jets for like 10 years, played for Detroit, played for Green Bay.
Right.
You got Mike Quick, played with me at NC State, played with the Philadelphia Eagles, was selected to 5 Pro Bowls. And what that means, you one of the best at your position. You got,
of all the pros.
Of all the pros, right. You either in the top 3 or 2. You got Vaughn Johnson, inside linebacker from NC State, played with the New Orleans Saints, 5-time elected to the Pro Bowl as inside linebacker. You got Ted Brown, played with the Minnesota Vikings, still hold the ACC rushing record after 35 years, and he still hold that record. Played with Minnesota for 9 years. Bill Carver was going to be here. Something came up where he had an emergency. Super Bowl coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right. Mike Smith would be there and won 12 state championship. Like I said, it's not about Mike. It's not about Stan. It's about the kids.
Right.
And whatever we can do to help them become better men. You got Darryl Moody, who was the running back coach at NC State, now the head scout for the Buffalo Bills. Ralph Stringer played with the Atlanta Falcons, played with me at NC State. You got Bubba Green, played with the Baltimore Colts, All-American at North Carolina State. You got Jim Richard, won the Outland Trophy at NC State, and the Outland Trophy is the best interior lineman in college football. Right. So these are some of the individuals that would be there Friday and Saturday.
Well, and you've got some local talent coming in.
Well,
Ronald Curry.
Ronald Curry, Tyrod, and Ronald Curry probably is one of the most decorated high school athlete in the country.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
Gatorade Player of the Year, basketball and football. Tyrod just got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. Played at Hampton High School, Virginia Tech, All ACC, All American. Marion Newsom, probably pound for pound, one of the better linebackers they ever played in college football. Was an All American at Virginia Tech. Average man who assisting Coach Smith over there at Hampton High School for 30-something years. He'll be there. Danny Mitchell will be there. Kenny Gillum will be there, who's been over at Hampton now, played for Mike Smith, and now assistant coach over there for like 15, 16 years. So that's some of the local talent that would be there also.
Wow, it sounds like it's going to be just an awesome camp. How many kids are you expecting that you'll have there?
Probably, at last I heard, about 150, that we have right now that are registered.
That are registered.
Yes, sir.
So it could grow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
all right, I'm going to ask you one last question. I just want you to kind of put in perspective what you got from being a student athlete. If you would sit down and talk to these young kids, what would you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, it's great being an athlete, but don't just dwell on that aspect of it, because that could be cut short. Any type of injury, hit the books though.
Right.
Listen to your parents, because your parents are your role model.
Right.
They with you the majority of the time. Never let someone tell you, like I said earlier, what you can't do.
Right.
Strive to be the best. Even if you may not be the best, you work to be the best. Because anything that you obtain that is good, you got to work to get that.
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to tell the young kids today. Get in the books. Get that education, because that's something they can't take from you, And like I said, it's nice to listen to people and absorb all that knowledge, try to get all that into your head, but ultimately, you make the decision.
Right.
Because when it don't work out, you can't come back and blame Woodrow Wilson. You can say, well, I made a decision, I ain't got nobody to blame but myself, But if you work at it, 9 out of 10 times, you're gonna be successful.
I tell you, the kids going to this camp are going to be happy.
I think they will.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Woodrow Wilson. I'm Bob Hintz. Until next time.